The message came from the far edge of the galaxy. It was a cry for help, simple and desperate. The Valari homeworld was dying. A massive cluster of asteroids was moving toward their planet. In 30 standard cycles, the rocks would strike. The impact would destroy everything. Cities would burn. Oceans would boil. Billions of Valari would die. Their entire civilization, their history, their children, all of it would end in fire and dust. The Valari were not warriors. They were scholars and artists. They studied the stars and wrote poetry about the light between worlds. They had no weapons. They had no warships. They had no way to save themselves. So they sent their message to the Galactic Federation. The Federation was supposed to protect its members. It had 847 worlds under its banner. Surely someone would help. The Federation Council received the distress signal in their great chamber on the station called Unity. Representatives from 100 species sat in their seats and listened to the Valari plea. The transmission showed their leader, a being with wings like colored glass and eyes that held ancient sadness. "Please," the Valari leader said, "we have nothing to offer, except our gratitude. But we are asking you to save our children. Save our world. We cannot do this alone." The council voted to broadcast an emergency request. The message went out to every member world. They needed ships. They needed weapons. They needed engineers who could break apart asteroids before they broke apart a planet. Then the council waited. The first response came from the Dreth Consortium, a wealthy alliance of trading worlds. They expressed deep sympathy for the Valari situation. They called it a tragedy. They said their thoughts were with the Valari people during this difficult time. But their ships were busy with commercial routes. They could not spare resources for a rescue mission. The second response came from the Korth Empire, a race of warriors with powerful fleets. They had the ships. They had the weapons. They could easily destroy the asteroid cluster. But they wanted payment. They named a price so high that the Valari could never pay it. Not in 1,000 years. The third response came from the Synthesis Collective, beings of pure technology who could calculate solutions to any problem. They ran the numbers. They studied the asteroid trajectories. They concluded that the mission had a 23.7% chance of success. This was too low. They would not risk their ships on such poor odds. More responses came. All of them said no. Some species claimed they were too far away. Some said they lacked the proper equipment. Some simply ignored the message entirely. One by one, the great civilizations of the galaxy turned their backs on the Valari. The council watched the responses come in. They made speeches about the sad state of galactic unity. They formed committees to discuss the situation. They scheduled meetings to talk about scheduling more meetings. Meanwhile, the asteroids kept moving. Every hour, they came closer to the Valari homeworld. 3 days passed. The Valari sent another message, more desperate than the first. They showed their people digging shelters underground. They showed parents holding their children and looking at the sky with fear. They showed scientists working without sleep, trying to find any solution, any hope. No one answered. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. A transmission arrived from a quarantined sector of the galaxy. This sector was marked on every star map with red warning symbols. Ships were told to avoid it. The beings who lived there were considered dangerous and unstable. The sector contained only one inhabited world, Earth. The message was simple. It came from a human woman with dark hair and tired eyes. She wore a worn uniform and stood on the bridge of a ship that looked old and battered. "This is Captain Park Dury of the Earth vessel Horizon," she said. "We received your distress call. We are changing course for the Valari system. We will arrive in 6 days. Hold on. We are coming. Also J. 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 The council chamber fell silent. Earth, the death world. Every species in the galaxy knew about Earth. It was a planet that seemed designed to kill its inhabitants. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere was filled with a corrosive gas called oxygen that burned through metal over time. The weather created massive storms that could flatten cities. The ground itself would shake and split open without warning. Oceans of salt water covered most of the surface, and those oceans were filled with predators. And somehow, life had evolved there. Humans had evolved there. They were strange creatures. They could survive almost anywhere. They could eat plants and animals and things that would poison other species. They could heal from injuries that would kill anyone else. They kept moving even when they were hurt, even when they were exhausted, even when every logical calculation said they should stop. The Federation had studied humans for decades. They had never fully understood them. The humans seemed to actively seek out danger. They climbed mountains because the mountains were there. They explored deep caves and ocean trenches. They built machines that let them fly through the air and dive beneath the waves. When the Federation first contacted Earth, they had expected to find primitive beings struggling to survive on their hostile world. Instead, they found a species that had conquered their planet and was already reaching for the stars. The Federation had decided to quarantine Earth. The humans were too unpredictable, too emotional, too willing to take risks that made no logical sense. And now those humans were coming to help the Volari. One of the council members, a being with 6 arms and skin like blue stone, spoke up. "This is a mining vessel," he said, studying the ship's specifications. "It has no weapons, no military capability. What do they think they can do?" Another council member, a creature of floating lights, flickered with confusion. "Why would they respond? They have no treaty with the Volari. They gain nothing from this." A third member, an ancient being who had lived for thousands of years, said quietly, "Perhaps that is exactly why they responded. Because no one else would." The council did not know how to process this. In their experience, species acted in their own interest. They calculated costs and benefits. They measured risks against rewards. They did not fly across the galaxy to save strangers for no reason. But the humans were coming anyway. On the Volari homeworld, the message from Earth spread quickly. The people gathered in their cities and watched the transmission of the human captain. They did not know what to make of her. She was small and soft-looking, without wings or armor or any natural weapons. But there was something in her eyes. A stubbornness. A refusal to accept the unacceptable. For the first time in days, the Volari felt something other than fear. They felt hope. In the dark of space, the horizon changed course. 47 humans turned their ship toward a planet they had never seen, to save people they had never met, because someone had asked for help and no one else had answered. The horizon was not a beautiful ship. It was old and scarred, covered in patches where repairs had been made over many years. It was built for mining asteroids in deep space, not for rescue missions. But it was the only human ship close enough to reach the Volari in time. Captain Park Dury stood on the bridge and looked at her crew. They had gathered to hear her speak. 47 people, all of them volunteers. She had given them a choice when the distress call came. She had told them they could say no. None of them had. "You all know why we are here," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "A planet is going to die if no one helps. The Federation will not help. Other species will not help. So we will." A young man near the back raised his hand. His name was Kim Tae-ho, and he was the ship's chief engineer. He was tall and thin, with messy hair and oil stains on his clothes. "Captain, I have been looking at the data. The asteroid cluster is massive. We do not have the firepower to destroy it." "I know," Park Dury said. "Our ship is designed to break apart small rocks for mining. These asteroids are the size of mountains." "I know," Kim Tae-ho smiled. It was a strange smile, The kind a person makes when they see a problem that seems impossible. Good. I like a challenge. The crew laughed. It was a nervous laugh, but it was real. Park Dury introduced her senior officers to those who did not know them well. Lee Yuna was the pilot, a woman in her late 20s, with short hair and quick eyes. She had grown up racing small aircraft through storms on Earth. People said she was crazy. She said she was just not afraid of weather. Choi Junho was the weapons specialist, a former soldier with a quiet face and careful hands. He did not talk much. He did not need to. When there was danger, he acted. That was enough. Shin Bora was the medical officer and the crew's expert on alien life. She was gentle and curious, always asking questions, always wanting to learn. She had joined the Horizon because she wanted to meet new species. Now, she would meet the Valari. These four, along with Captain Park, would lead the mission. But every person on the ship had a role. Engineers, pilots, technicians, cooks, medics. All of them were needed. All of them had chosen to come. The Horizon traveled through space at maximum speed. The engines burned hot, pushing the old ship harder than it had ever been pushed before. Kim Tae-ho spent his days in the engine room, making adjustments, fixing problems before they became disasters. Lee Yuna plotted their course. The fastest route to the Valari system went through a region of space filled with debris and radiation. The Federation's navigation computers said the route was too dangerous. Lee Yuna looked at the data and found a path through it anyway. The computers do not understand human flying, she said. They calculate what is safe. I calculate what is possible. While the ship traveled, Shin Bora studied everything the Federation knew about the Valari. They were insectoid beings, tall and thin, with wings made of material like colored glass. They lived for about 200 years. They valued knowledge and beauty above all things. They had no word for war in their language. They are so different from us, Shin Bora said to Captain Park one evening. They evolved on a peaceful world. No predators. No natural disasters. They never had to fight to survive. And now they face extinction, Park Dury said. But we do. The captain nodded slowly. Yes, we do. Choi Junho worked in the cargo bay, transforming the ship's mining equipment into weapons. The plasma cutters that sliced through asteroid rock could also slice through incoming debris. The drilling charges that broke apart mineral deposits could be modified into missiles. He was not creating a warship. The Horizon would never be a warship. But he was giving it teeth. Other crew members helped. They welded metal plates over weak points in the hull. They reinforced the windows on the bridge. They checked and rechecked. Every system, every tool, every piece of equipment. No one slept much. There was too much to do. On the third day of travel, Kim Tae-ho called an emergency meeting. He had been studying the data about the asteroid cluster, and he had found something troubling. The trajectories are wrong, he said. He showed them his calculations on a screen. Asteroids do not move like this naturally. The angles are too perfect. The timing is too precise. Asteroids, their reader. Asteroids. What are you saying? Captain Park asked. I am saying this is not an accident. Someone pushed these asteroids toward the Valari homeworld. Someone wants them destroyed. I wants them destroyed. The room fell silent. Shin Bora spoke first. Who would do such a thing? The Valari have no enemies. They are harmless. Kim Tae-ho shook his head. I do not know who. But I know this was planned. This is murder. Disguised as a natural disaster. Captain Park's face hardened. She had volunteered for a rescue mission. Now, she was also investigating a crime. But that did not change their goal. The Valari still needed saving. We continue as planned, she said. We stop the asteroids first. We find the killers later. On the fourth day, they received a message from the Federation Council. The council expressed concern about their mission. They advised the Horizon to turn back. They said the mission was too dangerous, the odds too low, the risk too great. Captain Park recorded a response. She kept it short. Thank you for your concern. We are continuing our mission. If you would like to help, you are welcome to send ships. If not, please stay out of our way. She did not wait for a reply. On the 5th day, they entered the dangerous region of space that the Federation had warned them about. Debris floated everywhere. Radiation made their sensors flicker and fail. Lee Yuna sat at the controls and flew the ship through the chaos like she was dancing. Left. Right. Up. Down. The ship twisted and turned, avoiding rocks that could tear through their hull. The crew held on and tried not to be sick. Lee Yuna just smiled. This is nothing, she said. You should try flying through a hurricane. They made it through. The ship was battered but whole. The crew was shaken, but alive. On the 6th day, they saw the Valari star in the distance. They were almost there. Captain Park gathered her crew one more time. In a few hours, we will arrive at a world we have never seen. We will meet people we have never met. We will try to save them from destruction, even though every calculation says we cannot. She looked at their faces, young and old, men and women, scared and brave, human. The galaxy thinks we are crazy, she said. The Federation thinks we are fools. Maybe they are right, but we are here anyway. Because this is what we do. We fight when fighting seems impossible. We hope when hope seems foolish. We help when no one else will. She straightened her shoulders. We are the children of a death world. Let us show the galaxy what that means. The Horizon flew on, toward the Valari system, toward the asteroids, toward whatever waited for them. 47 humans against the end of a world. It was not enough, but it was a start. The Valari homeworld was beautiful. It hung in space like a jewel, blue and green and white, wrapped in soft clouds. From the Horizon's bridge, Captain Park Dury could see why the Valari loved their world so much. It looked peaceful. It looked safe. But in the distance, she could also see the asteroids. They were still far away, but they were coming. Hundreds of massive rocks, moving together like a slow wave of death. 3 Federation ships floated near the planet. They were observation vessels, equipped with sensors and cameras, but no weapons. They had been sent to document the disaster, not to stop it, just to watch. One of the Federation captains sent a message to the Horizon. He was a being with gray skin and large black eyes, a species known for their careful thinking and love of rules. Human vessel, you are entering a restricted zone. The asteroid impact event is scheduled to occur in 21 standard cycles. We advise you to withdraw to a safe distance for observation purposes. Lee Yuna looked at Captain Park with disbelief. They want us to watch? They want us to stay safe while a planet dies, Choi Junho said quietly. There was anger in his voice, carefully controlled. Captain Park opened a channel to respond. Federation vessels, we are not here to observe. We are here to help. We will be entering the debris field to begin operations. You are welcome to join us or stay out of our way. The Federation captain's large eyes blinked several times. That course of action is not recommended. Our calculations show that your vessel has insufficient capability to affect the trajectory of the asteroid cluster. You will achieve nothing except the loss of your own lives. Thank you for your opinion, Captain Park said. Horizon out. She cut the transmission and turned to Lee Yuna. Take us in. The pilot smiled and pushed the controls forward. The Horizon moved toward the debris field, leaving the Federation ships behind. Inside the asteroid cluster, everything changed. The peaceful view of the planet disappeared behind walls of tumbling rock. Some asteroids were small, the size of houses. Others were enormous, like mountains floating in space. They spun and crashed into each other, creating clouds of dust and fragments. Li Yuna flew through them with intense focus. Her hands moved constantly, adjusting course, avoiding collisions. The ship shook as small rocks hit the hull, but the reinforced plates held. Kim Tae-ho watched his screens and called out targets. Large asteroid, bearing 370. If we can break it apart here, the fragments will miss the planet. Choi Junho activated the modified weapons. The plasma cutters fired, sending beams of intense heat into the asteroid. The rock began to crack and split, but it was slow work. Each asteroid took time to break, and there were so many of them. After several hours, a small shuttle approached the horizon. It came from the planet below. Inside was a single Valari, the first one the humans would meet in person. Shinbora went to the docking bay to greet their visitor. She had studied the Valari, but seeing one in person was different. The being was tall and thin, with 4 arms and 2 legs. Its wings were folded against its back, shimmering with colors that shifted in the light. Its eyes were large and complex, made of many smaller parts that moved independently. "I am called Illuminated Path," the Valari said. Its voice was soft and musical, translated by a small device on its chest. "I have come to speak with your leader." Shinbora bowed her head in the Valari greeting she had learned. "Welcome to the horizon. I am Shinbora. Please, come with me." She led Illuminated Path through the ship. The Valari looked at everything with obvious curiosity. The narrow hallways, the worn metal walls, the humans working at their stations, some of them covered in sweat and grease. "Your ship is very sturdy." Shinbora laughed softly. "It is old and ugly, but it works." They reached the bridge. Captain Park turned to greet their guest. She looked tired. Everyone looked tired. They had been working without rest since they arrived. Illuminated Path stood before the human captain and trembled slightly. In the Valari way, trembling showed deep emotion. "You came," the Valari said. "We sent our message to hundreds of worlds. No one answered. And then, you came. Someone had to." Park Dury said simply. "But why you? Your species is not part of the Federation. You have no treaty with us. You owe us nothing." Captain Park thought about the question. She had asked herself the same thing many times during the journey here. Why did humans do this? Why did they run toward danger instead of away from it? "On Earth," she said slowly, "there is an old idea. It says that when someone is in trouble, you help them. Not because you will get something in return. Not because you have to. Just because it is the right thing to do. But the risk to yourselves is not important." Captain Park met the Valari's strange eyes. "Your children are hiding in shelters underground. Your people are afraid. We could not live with ourselves if we did nothing." Illuminated Path was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, it released a scent into the air. Shinbora recognized it from her studies. It was the Valari expression of profound gratitude, usually reserved for life-saving acts. "We were told that humans were dangerous," Illuminated Path said. "The Federation warned us about your species. They said you were violent and unstable. They said you came from a world of death. All of that is true." Shinbora said gently. "Then I do not understand. How can dangerous beings be so kind?" Shinbora smiled. It was a question she loved, trying to answer. "On Earth," she explained, "everything is dangerous. The weather tries to kill us. The ground shakes and opens beneath our feet. The oceans are filled with creatures that hunt. Even small things, insects, plants, invisible germs, can end our lives." Illuminated Path listened with growing wonder. Because everything is dangerous, we learned to be dangerous too. We had to fight to survive. We became strong and fast and clever. We learned to take risks that other species would never take. But we also learned something else, Captain Park added. We learned that we survive better together. Alone, a human is weak. Together, we can do anything. So we help each other. We protect each other. And when we find others who need protection, we protect them too. Even strangers, especially strangers. Because we remember what it was like to be alone and afraid. And we decided long ago that no one should have to feel that way, if we can help it. Illuminated Path spread its wings slightly, a gesture of amazement. Your world made you dangerous, it said. But you chose to be kind. You did not have to make that choice. 1. No. Park Dury agreed. We did not have to. But we did. And we will keep making it, as long as there are people who need help. Outside the ship, the asteroids continued their deadly journey. The horizon continued its work, breaking rocks, changing trajectories, fighting against impossible odds. On the bridge, a human captain and a Valari scholar stood together. Two species that had never met before. Two worlds that could not be more different. But in that moment, they understood each other perfectly. We will help you save your world, Captain Park said. I cannot promise we will succeed, but I can promise we will try with everything we have. Illuminated Path touched its chest in the Valari gesture of binding commitment. Then we will try together. And whatever happens, my people will never forget what you have done. The work continued. The hours passed. The asteroids kept coming, but for the first time since the disaster began, the Valari were not alone. And that made all the difference. Kim Tae-ho had not slept in 3 days. His eyes burned. His hands shook slightly as he worked at his console. But he could not stop. The numbers demanded his attention. He had been studying the asteroid cluster since they arrived. At first, he focused on how to destroy the rocks, which ones to target, where to aim the weapons, how to change the trajectories, but something kept bothering him. The patterns were too perfect. Natural asteroid clusters were messy. Rocks moved in random directions, affected by gravity and collisions, and 1,000 small forces. But this cluster moved like a machine. Every asteroid was in exactly the right position. Every trajectory pointed at the Valari homeworld with mathematical precision. Kim Tae-ho ran his calculations again. And again. And again. Finally, he was certain. He found Captain Park in the small room she used as an office. She was reviewing reports, trying to figure out how to make their limited resources last longer. She looked up when he entered. You found something, she said. Yes. Kim Tae-ho sat down heavily. This is not a natural disaster. Someone engineered this. Captain Park's face went still. Explain. The asteroids were pushed. Small changes in their orbits, made over many years. Each change was tiny, too small to notice. But together, they added up. Someone spent decades arranging this cluster to hit the Valari homeworld. Who would do this? The Valari have no enemies. I do not know who, but I know it was deliberate. The mathematical precision is impossible any other way. Captain Park closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there was cold anger in her expression. So we are not just fighting a natural disaster. We are fighting a murder. 17 Aranser. We are fighting a murder. Yes. She stood and walked to the small window. Outside, she could see the debris field. Rocks tumbling through space. Somewhere beyond them, the Valari waited in fear. It does not change our mission, she said finally. We still have to stop the asteroids. But after, we need to find out who did this. Kim Tae-ho nodded. There is something else. I have been running the numbers on our current efforts. Captain, we are not going to make it. Park Dury turned to face him. Show me. He pulled up his calculations on a tablet. The numbers were clear and terrible. The horizon had destroyed or redirected dozens of asteroids. But there were hundreds more. And the largest ones, the real killers, were too big for their weapons to handle. We would need 10 ships like ours working constantly to stop the main cluster, Kim Tae-ho said. With just us, the biggest asteroids will reach the planet. The impacts will not destroy everything, but they will kill millions, maybe billions. Captain Park stared at the numbers. Her expression did not change, but Kim Tae-ho could see the weight settling on her shoulders. We have done everything we can, he said quietly. Have we? She was silent for a long time. Then she walked to the door. Come with me. We are going to have a meeting. 20 minutes later, the senior crew gathered in the small meeting room. Park Duri, Kim Tae-ho, Lee Yuna, Choi Jun-ho, and Shin Bora. They looked tired and worried. They had all seen the numbers. Captain Park stood at the head of the table. You all know our situation. We cannot stop the main asteroids alone. We have done the math. The math says we fail. Doc, no one spoke, but I am not ready to accept that. So I am asking you, what options do we have that we have not tried? Choi Jun-ho spoke first. We could plant charges on the largest asteroids, get inside them, and break them apart from within. Kim Tae-ho shook his head. That would require teams to land on moving rocks in a debris field. The danger would be extreme. More dangerous than letting a planet die? Silence again. Lee Yuna leaned forward. I can fly those missions. The asteroids spin, but they spin in patterns. I can match their rotation and land teams on them. You would have to do it dozens of times, Kim Tae-ho said. Without rest, without mistakes. Then I will not make mistakes. Shin Bora raised a different question. Even if we succeed with the explosives, we do not have enough charges. Our supplies were meant for mining, not warfare. This was the real problem. They had the will. They had the skill. But they did not have enough resources. Captain Park had been thinking about this. There was one option left. She had hoped to avoid it, but hope was a luxury they could no longer afford. We call for help, she said. Kim Tae-ho frowned. The Federation refused. The other species refused. I am not talking about them. I am talking about Earth. The room went quiet. There are other human ships out there, Captain Park continued. Not military ships. Miners like us. Cargo haulers. Private vessels. If we send a message, a real message, showing what is happening here, some of them might come. Lee Yuna's eyes widened. You want to call the whole fleet? We do not have a fleet. We have scattered ships, doing scattered jobs across a quarter of the galaxy. But yes, I want to call all of them. Choi Jun-ho considered this. They would have to abandon their work, leave their contracts. Some of them might lose their livelihoods. I know, and they might arrive too late. Or not arrive at all. End quote. I know that too. Shin Bora spoke softly. But if they do come, if enough of them come, we might have a chance. Captain Park nodded. It is our only chance. She looked at each of them in turn. Her crew, her friends, the people who had followed her into certain danger without hesitation. I will not give this order, she said. I will make a request. I will send a message to every human ship I can reach. I will show them the Valari. I will show them what we are fighting for, and then I will ask them to help. And if no one comes? Kim Tae-ho asked. Then we keep fighting anyway. We break as many asteroids as we can. We save as many lives as we can. And when the history of this day is written, it will say that humans tried. She straightened her spine. But I do not believe no one will come. I believe in our people. We do not leave others to suffer alone. It is not in our nature. One by one, her officers nodded. They did not know if her plan would work. They did not know if anyone would answer. But they believed in her. and they believed in humanity. That night, Captain Park recorded her message. She did not write a script. She just spoke from her heart. She showed the Valari homeworld, beautiful and doomed. She showed the children in their shelters, looking up with frightened eyes. She showed her crew working without sleep, fighting against impossible odds. And then she spoke to her fellow humans, scattered across the stars. We are alone here. The galaxy has turned away, but we cannot turn away. We cannot watch innocent people die when we have the power to help them. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I am not asking you to be heroes. I am asking you to be human. Come if you can. Fight if you can. And if you cannot come or fight, then pray for us. Pray for the Valari. Pray that somewhere in this cold universe, kindness still matters. She ended the message and sent it out into the dark. Then she went back to work, because the asteroids were still coming, and there was still so much to do. The message from Captain Park traveled across space at the speed of light. It reached human outposts and stations. It reached ships, moving through the dark between stars. It reached colonies on distant moons, and mining platforms floating in asteroid belts. And everywhere it reached, people stopped what they were doing and listened. On Luna Colony, a cargo hauler captain named Bake Mira was loading supplies for a routine delivery. Her ship was old, even older than the horizon. Her crew was small, just 8 people. But when she saw the images of the Valari children hiding underground, she felt something twist in her chest. Change of plans, she told her crew. We are going to Valari space. One of her crew members, a young man, looked worried. Can wait, those children cannot. Within an hour, her ship was heading away from Luna, toward the stars. On Mars, in the great shipyards that built vessels for deep space travel, a half-finished cargo ship sat in its construction frame. It was weeks away from completion. The hull was solid, but many systems were still being installed. The yard manager, a woman named Han Jisoo, watched Captain Park's message on a large screen. Around her, hundreds of workers stopped their tasks to watch with her. When the message ended, Han Jisoo turned to her engineers. How fast can we make this ship fly? The chief engineer, a tired man with gray hair, stared at her. It is not finished. The navigation system is incomplete. The weapons are not installed. We would have to... How fast? He calculated in his head. 12 hours. But it would be held together with emergency welds and hope. Then start welding. The workers did not question her. They understood. Some things were more important than contracts and schedules and proper procedures. In the asteroid belt, a group of miners received the message in their cramped vessel. They were weeks away from a profitable haul, rocks rich with valuable minerals that would make them wealthy. The crew gathered to discuss what to do. They argued. Some wanted to stay and finish their work. Others wanted to go immediately. Finally, their captain, a quiet man named Yoon Ji-hoon, made the decision. We can always find more rocks, he said. We cannot find more chances to do the right thing. They abandoned their claim and set course for Valari space. Ship after ship made the same choice. Freighters and transports, personal vessels and commercial haulers, old ships and new ships, large crews and small crews. Some of them were fast, some were slow. But they were coming. The Federation watched in confusion as the Death World began to empty itself. Their sensors tracked human vessels, changing course from every corner of the galaxy. 17 ships, then 30, then 60. The Federation Council called an emergency session. They did not understand what they were seeing. They are abandoning their work, one council member said. For strangers, another member said, its voice filled with disbelief. They are sacrificing everything for beings they have never met. An ancient council member, one who had studied humans for decades, spoke quietly. This is what they do. They are pack creatures. When one member of the pack is threatened, the others come. even if the threatened one is a stranger, even if the cost is high. But the Valari are not part of their pack. The ancient being made a gesture that might have been a shrug. To humans, everyone is part of their pack. They have not yet met a species they will not try to save. The council fell silent, trying to understand a concept so foreign to their experience. On the horizon, Captain Park received reports of the incoming ships. Each message that arrived was a small miracle. A family ship with 6 people aboard, including 2 children. A research vessel that had been studying distant stars. Its scientists now preparing for a very different kind of work. A transport full of construction workers who had experience with explosives. A racing yacht owned by a wealthy woman who said she had always wanted to do something meaningful with her life. They came from everywhere. They came with everything they had. Shinbora watched the reports come in, tears running down her face. She was not ashamed of them. "I knew we were not alone," she whispered. "I knew others would come." Lee Yuna grinned fiercely. Kim Taeho was already running new calculations. "With this many ships, we can divide the work. Multiple teams hitting multiple asteroids. The math starts to look possible." Choi Junho studied the incoming vessel specifications. "We have transport ships, not warships. But some of them have equipment we can use. Mining lasers, construction charges, cutting tools. We can make this work." Captain Park allowed herself a small smile. She had hoped her people would answer, but hope was different from certainty. Now she had certainty. She recorded a new message, this one for the incoming ships. "Thank you for coming. I know what this costs you. I know what you are leaving behind. But because of you, we have a chance. A real chance." She outlined her plan. The ships would work in groups. Small, fast vessels would handle the outer debris. Larger ships would carry teams to the major asteroids. The horizon would coordinate everything, directing resources where they were needed most. "This will be dangerous," she admitted. "Some of us may not survive. But if we succeed, millions of innocent people will live. Their children will grow up. Their civilization will continue. That is worth fighting for. That is worth dying for." She paused. "And if any species in this galaxy doubts what humanity stands for, let them watch what we do in the next few days. Let them see our miners and merchants and ordinary people flying into danger to save strangers. Let them understand that on Earth, we do not calculate the value of a life before deciding whether to save it." The message went out. The ships received it, and they flew faster. On the Valari homeworld, the people watched in wonder. Their sensors showed them the human fleet approaching. So many ships, so many beings, from the death world, coming to help. Illuminated Path broadcast a message to the entire planet. "Do not give up hope," the Valari leader said. "The humans are coming. Not one ship, but many. They are coming because we asked for help. They are coming because no one else would. They are coming because that is who they are." In the shelters, parents held their children and watched the skies. The asteroids were still visible, still approaching. But now, something else was visible too. Human ships, dozens of them. Points of light moving against the darkness. The children pointed and asked what they were seeing. Their parents told them the truth. "Those are our friends," they said. "They have come to save us." In the cold of space, the human fleet assembled. Captains who had never met worked together. Crews who had been strangers became partners. Engineers shared knowledge. Pilots coordinated maneuvers. They had come from different places. They had different backgrounds, different stories, different reasons for being in space. But in that moment, they were one. Captain Park looked at the fleet on her display and felt something she had not felt since this mission began. Confidence. The math finally worked. Now they just had to fight. The final battle began at dawn on the Valari homeworld. Though in space there was no dawn, only darkness and stars, and the terrible rocks that grew closer every hour. 63 human ships faced the asteroid cluster. They were not warships. They were miners and haulers and transports and personal vessels. Their weapons were tools, modified for combat. Their crews were ordinary people who had chosen to be extraordinary. Captain Park's voice came through every speaker, on every ship. All teams, begin operations. Stay in formation. Watch each other's backs. And remember why we are here. The fleet moved forward into the debris field. Lee Yuna led the first wave. Her fingers danced across the controls as she guided the horizon through spinning rocks and clouds of dust. Behind her, a dozen smaller ships followed her path, trusting her instincts. Target Alpha 7 ahead, Kim Tae-ho called out. Large asteroid. Extinction level threat. We need teams on the surface to plant charges. Lee Yuna studied the spinning rock. It was the size of a mountain, turning slowly in space. Most pilots would say landing on it was impossible. Lee Yuna saw it as a puzzle. I can match its rotation, she said. Choi Junho led the boarding team. 20 humans in pressure suits, carrying charges and equipment. They loaded into a small shuttle attached to the Horizon's hull. Lee Yuna flew the shuttle toward the spinning asteroid. She matched its rotation perfectly, setting down on the rocky surface as gently as a falling leaf. Choi Junho and his team jumped out. The gravity was weak. They had to use magnetic boots to stay attached to the ground. They spread across the asteroid's surface, drilling holes and planting charges at weak points in the rock structure. Team 1 in position, Choi Junho reported, ready to detonate on command. On other asteroids, other teams were doing the same thing. Miners who had spent their lives breaking apart rocks for profit now broke apart rocks to save lives. They worked quickly and carefully, knowing that every second mattered. In the outer debris field, smaller ships hunted fragments. Mining lasers fired, cutting dangerous rocks into harmless pieces. Collisions were constant human pilots, weaving between tumbling stones at speeds that made the Federation observers gasp. Bake Mira, the cargo hauler captain from Luna Colony, pushed her old ship to its limits. Twice, she nearly crashed. Twice she pulled away at the last moment, laughing with relief. Come on, old girl, she whispered to her ship. A little more. Just a little more. The half-finished ship from Mars, held together with emergency welds, worked at the edge of the field. Its crew of shipyard workers operated weapons they had never tested, using systems they had barely finished installing. Somehow, it all worked. Han Jisoo, the yard manager who had ordered the ship launched, commanded from a bridge that still smelled of fresh metal and welding smoke. Left side, target that cluster, she called. Right side, watch for incoming debris. Her crew responded with the same efficiency they had used building ships for years. The work was different, but the discipline was the same. Hours passed. The human fleet made progress, but the asteroids kept coming. For every rock they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place, and in the center of the cluster, the largest asteroid waited. It was massive, a world killer, kilometers across. If it hit the Valari planet, nothing would survive. Target Omega, Kim Tae-ho reported grimly. Our calculations were correct. The smaller teams cannot handle this one. We need a coordinated strike. Captain Park studied the monster rock on her display. Dozens of smaller ships had tried to approach it, but the debris field around it was too dense. Several ships had already been damaged. 2 had been destroyed, their crews lost. Pull back all smaller vessels, she ordered. Only the largest ships will approach Target Omega. We go in together. Lestre. 15 ships answered her call. The Horizon led them, followed by Bake Mira's cargo hauler, the Mars ship, and a dozen others. They formed a wedge formation. With the Horizon at the point, Lee Yuna flew like she had never flown before. She did not think about the danger. She did not think about failure. She only thought about the path ahead. Through the gap, she muttered. Around the spinner. Under the fragment cloud. The fleet followed her, trusting her judgment completely. They reached Target Omega. Up close, It was even more terrifying than it had looked on sensors. A dark mountain of rock and ice, scarred by ancient impacts, spinning slowly toward the Valari homeworld. Choi Junho led a massive boarding team, over 100 humans from multiple ships. They landed on the asteroid's surface and spread out, planting charges at every weak point they could find. But there was a problem. The charges are not enough, Kim Tae-ho reported, his voice strained. Even if we detonate everything, the asteroid will only crack. The fragments will still hit the planet. Captain Park felt cold. How do we get more power? Silence on the communication channel. Then a voice spoke, a man named Yoon Ji-hoon, the quiet captain of the mining vessel from the asteroid belt. My ship has a fusion reactor, he said. If we push it to overload and set it on the asteroid's core, the explosion will be enough. Everyone understood what he was saying. Overloading a fusion reactor was a one-way trip. No one would survive. I will not order that, Captain Park said firmly. No one dies for this. You do not have to order it. Yoon Ji-hoon's voice was calm. I am volunteering. My crew has already agreed. We came here to save these people. If this is what it takes, then this is what we do. There must be another way. There is no time, Captain. The asteroid reaches critical distance in 2 hours. If we do not act now, everything we have done means nothing. Shin Bora was crying openly on the bridge. Lee Yuna gripped her controls so hard her knuckles turned white. Kim Tae-ho closed his eyes, running calculations he already knew the answer to. Captain Park's voice broke slightly. Yoon Ji-hoon, your crew, your names will never be forgotten. That is all we ask. There was peace in his voice. No fear. Tell the Valari what we did. Tell them humans are not just dangerous. Tell them we are capable of love. His ship moved toward the asteroid. The other vessels pulled back, giving him space. Choi Junho and his boarding teams evacuated quickly, returning to their ships. Yoon Ji-hoon landed his vessel on the asteroid's surface. His crew worked fast, preparing the reactor for overload. Set charges for remote detonation, Captain Park ordered. We blow everything at once. The fleet retreated to a safe distance. On the asteroid, Yoon Ji-hoon's ship sat alone, its reactor building toward explosion. The final seconds ticked away. Goodbye, Yoon Ji-hoon said. The charges detonated. The reactor exploded. A flash of light brighter than a star filled the screen. When the light faded, Target Omega was gone. Not just cracked, vaporized, turned to dust, and fragments too small to threaten anything. The extinction-level threat was over. On the Valari homeworld, sensors detected the explosion. Scientists confirmed what it meant. The planet was saved. People poured out of the shelters, looking up at the sky. They wept and embraced each other. They spoke prayers of gratitude in their musical language, and they said names they had learned in the past few days. Human names. Names of beings from a death world who had crossed the galaxy to save strangers. Names that would be remembered for generations. In space, the human fleet gathered around the spot where Yoon Ji-hoon's ship had been. 62 ships now, instead of 63. They held a moment of silence. Then Captain Park spoke, her voice rough with emotion. We are not finished. There are still asteroids to clear. Still debris to handle. The planet is saved, but the work continues. The fleet moved back into the debris field, because that was what humans did. They kept working, even through grief, even through loss. They kept going. The work took 3 more weeks. 3 weeks of clearing debris. 3 weeks of hunting down rogue fragments. 3 weeks of making sure the Valari homeworld was truly safe. When it was finally over, the human fleet gathered in orbit above the planet. Their ships were battered and scarred. Many had damage that would take months to repair. A few would never fly again, but they had won. The Federation Council sent observers to document what had happened. They recorded everything: the destroyed asteroids, the saved planet, the ragged fleet of human vessels, floating in formation. They also recorded the memorial. The humans held a ceremony for those who had died. Yoon Ji-hoon and his crew of 7. 14 others lost during the battle, killed by debris impacts or equipment failures. 22 humans who had given their lives to save a species they had never known existed a month ago. Captain Park read their names aloud, one by one. Behind her, the Valari homeworld turned slowly, alive and beautiful. They came because someone asked for help, she said. They fought because it was the right thing to do. They died so that others could live. We will not forget them. The Valari will not forget them. And the galaxy will not forget them. After the ceremony, the Valari invited the humans down to their planet. For the first time, beings from Earth walked on a peaceful world under a soft sun. The Valari had prepared celebrations. Food and music and lights that danced in colors humans had never seen before. Children with shimmering wings ran up to the visitors, touching their hands and asking endless questions. Why did you come? What is your world like? Are you really from a place where the ground shakes? The humans answered as best they could. They laughed and ate strange foods and danced to music they did not understand. They were tired and grieving, but they celebrated anyway. Life was worth celebrating. Illuminated Path found Captain Park standing alone, watching the festivities from a quiet corner. Your people are remarkable, the Valari said. They have lost friends. They are exhausted. And still, they celebrate with us. We have learned to carry joy and sorrow together, Park Duri said. On Earth, you have to. There is always loss. There is always hardship. If we waited for perfect happiness, we would never celebrate at all. Illuminated Path considered this. Your world truly is harsh. Yes. But it made us who we are. The harshness taught us to be strong, and the strength taught us to be kind. A few days later, the Federation Council held a special session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss what had happened at Valari. The conspiracy was exposed. 3 council members had secretly arranged the asteroid attack. Hoping to destroy the Valari before they could share an ancient artifact, they had discovered a map to technology that could reshape the galaxy. The guilty council members were arrested. Their allies were investigated. The corruption that had allowed an entire species to face extinction while the galaxy watched was dragged into the light. But the real discussion was about humans. They violated quarantine protocols, one representative argued. They entered restricted space. Without authorization, they saved billions of lives. Another countered. They are dangerous, unpredictable. Their methods defy logical analysis. Their methods worked. The debate continued for hours. Finally, the ancient being who had studied humans for decades rose to speak. We have feared the humans because they are different from us, the ancient one said. They evolved on a hostile world. They take risks we would never take. They feel emotions we do not understand. The chamber fell silent. But perhaps we have been measuring them by the wrong standards. Perhaps strength is not just power. Perhaps wisdom is not just calculation. Perhaps the humans have something to teach us. And what is that? A skeptical voice asked. The ancient being looked around the chamber. That it is not enough to survive. We must also choose what kind of beings we want to be. The humans chose to help others, even at great cost. To themselves, they chose compassion over safety, courage over caution. And because of that choice, the Valari live. The Council voted to lift the quarantine on Earth. They invited humanity to join the Federation as full members. They established a new policy for emergency responses, inspired by human methods. And they commissioned a monument to be built in the Federation's capital, a statue of a human hand reaching down to help a fallen figure rise. Captain Park was offered a seat on the council. She declined. We are not politicians, she told them. We are the people you call when politicians fail. Keep that line of communication open. When someone needs help that no one else will give, call us. We will answer. She returned to the horizon with what remained of her original crew. But before they left Valari space, Shin Bora gave Illuminated Path a gift, a small flag from Earth. One that had flown on the horizon throughout the mission. Keep this, she said. Remember us. Illuminated Path held the flag carefully, as if it were the most precious thing in the universe. We will remember you, the Valari promised. Every child born on this world will learn about the humans who came when no one else would. Your names will be in our histories, our songs, our prayers. For as long as our civilization exists, we will remember. Kim Tae-ho stayed behind on Valari. The ancient artifact, the one that had made the Valari targets, fascinated him. He wanted to study it and ensure its knowledge was shared freely, not hoarded by the powerful. I will send reports, he told Captain Park. And maybe, when the work is done, I will come home. Take your time, she said. There is always more work to find. Lee Yuna returned to Earth briefly, but she did not stay. She had heard about other planets out there, other death worlds where intelligent species were struggling to survive. She wanted to find them, welcome them, show them they were not alone. The galaxy is bigger than I thought, she said before she left, and there are more people who need help. Choi Junho established a memorial on Valari. He carved the names of every human who had died in the battle into a crystal pillar that would endure for millennia. The Valari placed it in their most sacred garden, surrounded by flowers that bloomed in every color of the rainbow. He visited it every day until he left. And every day, he made the same promise. We will not let your sacrifice be wasted. We will keep helping. We will keep fighting. We will make you proud. Captain Park took the horizon back into space. There were contracts to fulfill, routes to travel, ordinary work to be done. But she knew that somewhere, sometime, another call would come. Another planet in danger. Another species facing extinction. And when that call came, she would answer, because that was what humans did. In the great silence of the universe, where stars burned cold and species rose and fell without witness, the children of Earth had made a choice. They had chosen to care. They had chosen to help. They had chosen to be the answer when everyone else said no. It was not logical. It was not efficient. It made no sense by the calculations of wiser, older, more careful species, but it was human, and in the end, that was enough. The horizon flew on, a small ship in an infinite darkness, carrying a message written in actions rather than words. You are not alone. Because somewhere out there, humans were listening, and they would always answer the call.